Hello everyone, today's lesson we're going to be explaining about trig derivatives and the methods to solve questions like that and the basic principles of it. So let's start off with a basic introduction to trig derivatives. So there are essentially three basic trig derivatives that you need to memorize, which is that sine derivative will be equal to cosine. Now cosine derivative will be equal to negative sine, okay? And tangent derivative will be equivalent to, this will be secant squared, okay? So this is the basic three trig derivatives that you need to memorize, and they can all be proven. So they can all be proven with definition method, delimit method, or other more complex methods like power rule, etc. later on. But you could also expand this one out to include the other three trig functions, which I'll just quickly write out here. Let me switch the color. Let's say we could do cosecant x derivative, secant x derivative, and cotangent x derivative. We could all do these. So let's start from the top and work our way down. A cosecant x derivative will be negative cosecant times cotangent, okay? And then secant would just be secant times tangent. And this is the derivative for all of them, because if it will be wrong if you just say it like that. Cotangent x derivative would just be negative cosecant squared derivative, right? So this is a negative sign. I should make my time signs and negative signs more clearer, so I'll put the time signs in a different color. Right, there we go. So that's essentially the 6 basic, more than 3 trig derivatives that you need to memorize for now. Yeah, but we can all prove all of these. So now that you have understand that, and that I'll just quickly go over a recap of power rule. So power rule and a bit of chain rule, okay? So what you do is that if given let's say x to the n power, right, and you have to find the derivative of x to the n. So the derivative of x to the n will be equal to n times x n minus 1 times function f of x derivative. So that is power rule with chain rule implied in there, right? So that is the general equation for it. Now let's do a question and see if we know the information presented above. So let's say given sine 3x, and you have to take the derivative of this equation. Well, what this equal will be, essentially you take power rule. So first you do 1 times sine 3x to the power of 1 minus 1 times sine 3x derivative, and then this times by 3x derivative. So then this will equal to, so you know that's any variable to the power of 0 would just be 1. So this would just cancel out, need to be 1. So that would be 1 times sine 3x derivative. Now this would, from our equation above, tell us to be cosine 3x, and then a 3x derivative would just be applying power rule, 3 times 1 times x to the power of 1 minus 1. Now this one just be 0, so x to the power of 0 would just be 1, so this will be 3. So in the end, the question will be 3 times cosine 3x. So that is the derivative of sine 3x. So this is an easy example of how to use the equations listed above and the definitions of chain and power rule to solve trig derivative questions. And I hope you found this lesson helpful, and I try to keep it as concise as possible, and I hope you learned something new about trig derivatives.